the number 2 post, as the state had contributed a significant number of votes to add to the stability of the premiership.
When asked if there was anyone in particular being considered, Kittingan said it did not matter to him. He said the new cabinet should take into consideration Sabah and Sarawak issues, as well as federal relations and their rights as enshrined in the 1963 Malaysian Agreement. STAR is one of the component parties under Pakatan National.
Malaysia sees another record high in COVID cases today. Over 23,000 new infections were reported in the last 24 hours, bringing the total number of cases to more than 1.5 million since the pandemic began. Selangor remains the state with the highest number of daily cases today, with nearly 7,000 infections. 38 new clusters were detected, with 22 involving workplaces. The country also recorded 233 fatalities related to COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. Malaysia received the first batch of CanSino COVID-19 vaccine today. The single-dose vaccine will further intensify the country's vaccination drive, especially in rural and low-access areas.
A total of 200,000 doses of CanSino vaccines developed by CanSino Biologics Incorporated from China arrived at Kuala Lumpur International Airport this morning. The COVID-19 Immunization Task Force in a statement said the finished product doses are part of the 3.5 million ordered from CanSino for delivery in stages. The CanSino jab was granted conditional approval for emergency use in Malaysia by the Drug Control Authority on June 15th.
All right, we'll go for one short break. When we come back, we'll discuss more on the political issues that are surrounding the country with Howard Lee, the DAP Socialist Youth head. We'll be right back after these messages.
Check this out.
It hasn't been such a long time since people first started shopping online, and it was easy to keep up with the clicks. Little by little by little by more, the clicks added up to be more than the stores, and e-tailers worked harder than ever before because they had to keep up with the clicks. No time for borders, got to stay in control, to stay in the flow and continue to grow. But we'll help you keep up with the clicks.
Selangor Darul Ehsan, the country's leading GDP contributor, with a workforce of over 3.6 million, is primed to become ASEAN's gateway for business. How is Invest Selangor playing its role in contributing to this? From industrial parks to aerospace, we will touch on digitalization and e-commerce, and how companies are braving through these challenging times. It's all going to be right here on Investment Insider Season 2, only on Astro AWANI.
Welcome back. This is Notepad, broadcasting live from the All Asia Broadcasting Centre in Bukit Jalil, Kuala Lumpur. My name is Ibrahim Sani. I'll be with you for the next half an hour or so. Joining us this evening is Yang Berhormat Howard Lee, DAP Socialist Youth Chief. Howard, how are you?
Doing fine at 11 o'clock at night.
Yes.
Considerably well.
Considerably well. People don't know this, but during the break I was talking about how you're a socialist and I'm a libertarian, and we're up in the evening talking about the matters at hand right now. And of course, the key factor here is that it's not easy for us to palate some of the changes that is currently happening in the country. Youth in particular voted overwhelmingly during the general election, 14th general election, to not vote for UMNO. And here we are in full circle. We're going to have an UMNO Prime Minister being sworn in tomorrow afternoon. What would be some of your early reactions to this?
I think fundamentally what we need to recognize is that pretty much every single arm of our democracy have been tested to the max. And in particularly over the last few days, the institution of our constitutional monarchy itself was put through unprecedented challenges in verifying the majority that was claimed, which is now verified, which has given us a prime minister, or the next prime minister after the previous one resigned. I think in that, the first thing that I think I must acknowledge is votes of thanks for His Royal Majesty the King, as well as His Royal Highnesses the rulers in the Conference of Rulers, for being the fantastic moderator and facilitator of our democracy, and to get our country out of this kind of expanded uncertainty. Now there is finality. I think we need to move on. Whether or not we will move forward is another matter to discuss on another day, but I think we must and we need to and we can now move on.
But are we really moving on when the personnel isn't much of a difference? We're looking at the same lineup of MPs from the same coalition. We don't know yet how the executive will shape up, but one would assume that a majority of the old executive will still form the new executive. Is this part of that moving on that we all, yearn to have, actually?
I think the word yearning is quite apt at this particular juncture, and I think a majority of the country will not be getting what we yearn for, or yearned for, or is still yearning for. And I think you've hit the nail right on the head. The question is, what kind of a government is going to be realized after the Prime Minister, the new Prime Minister, is sworn in? Are we going to see the berusaha mewujudkan perpaduan dan penyatuan that was quite clearly decreed in the last statement before the statement before last issued by Istana Negara? Are we going to see this unification of all parties, or at least some kind of unionization of all parties? Are we going to see the extension of a hand that was asked for by His Royal Majesty the King, extension of a hand of cooperation? And I paraphrase, menghulurkan tangan untuk bekerjasama. And it was quite clearly stipulated that those who succeed must also reach out to those who didn't, and who work as a team, bekerja dalam satu pasukan. Are we going to see that? Or are we going to see, it's not even, sorry to say, it's not even going to be a same wine in a different bottle. It's the same wine with the same bottle, just with a different bottle cap. So I think what is for us is we must move on. Whether we can or not is a different issue. Can we move forward is a different issue. Is it going to be unification? Is it going to be some kind of a progressive, inclusive, representative government? Or is it going to be, same bottle, same wine with a different cap?
And of course, the clear statement that came from the palace is that mereka yang menang bukan menang semuanya, mereka yang kalah bukan kalah semuanya. So clearly indicating some sort of collaboration that is looked forward to by the palace, perhaps. But whether or not this will be translated into how the executive is going to reach out to this is still yet to be seen. But as a member of the DAP, do you feel that some communications are currently being carried out between your party with that of Pakatan Nasional or Barisan Nasional? Do you feel that the conversation that might not have happened yet will happen soon in order for this to work?
Well, quite frankly, it's not just from us, and we've seen my counterpart in UMNO, the youth chief of UMNO, Dr. Ashraf Jadi, who's actually echoed similar notions where, he sees it as a decree from the palace. I see it, equally as with equal weighting, which is there's a clear indication, and there's actually I would even verge on saying that it's a request from the palace, and in the constitutional monarchy, the monarch has the responsibility to advise and warn the government, and of course this coming government has, I would consider, been warned and been advised to reach out, and I think I'd like to echo what Ashraf has said, which is that there needs to be some form of a cooperation. But whether or not what the youth chiefs of DAP and UMNO see as necessary will necessitate real action, in the formation of Dato' Sri Ismail Sabri's upcoming government, that remains to be seen. And I wouldn't like to hazard a preemption at this particular juncture.
In joining the chorus of youth voices in the political sphere, MCA Youth Chief Nicole Wong calls for the incoming Prime Minister and the incoming Cabinet to seize on the opportunity to implement Undi 18. Do you share this sentiment with all the other youth chiefs from Barisan Nasional as well as Pakatan Nasional?
I'm sorry to be a bit of a to throw a bit of a sour grape here, but I was one of the key early movers along with Sadiq in pushing for Undi 18. When we were in government, after we fell from government, I have continuously and consistently pressured for Undi 18 to be part of the reform agenda, whatever government comes in, because quite frankly, it's only constitutional after the constitutional amendment. And I mean, this is a non-negotiable. This is only constitutional for it to be carried on forward. So I'm not pressing for it. I'm just asking for the government to fulfill what is constitutional. So I guess it's a yes, but I think I would use slightly different language. Yeah.
Yep. The last time you were on, I heard your impassionate plea for the removal of the Speaker of the Dewan Rakyat. You were saying, among other things, of course, you were using very colorful language at that. Among other things, saying that he is unfit to hold such an office. Do you think that he is going to be tested yet again when the parliamentary sitting is reopening this September 6th?
My position stands firm and unmovable. He has disgraced the very notion of democracy and the august houses of both Parliament. And I think if a person or a role of that stature is not held by a person of equal, if not similar stature, it would only perpetuate and exacerbate the problems that we faced and we will continue to face. And of course, what has been decreed by the palace is also a vote of confidence for the new upcoming Prime Minister. Will the Speaker, the current Speaker, the neededly so, but yet to resign Speaker, carry that out? And that remains to be seen. But I think my position still stands. We need someone of equal stature to the organization or the vehicle in which he or she is in charge of. And I think the Speaker needs to be someone who will uphold the Constitution, and the current Speaker has proven that he is incapable. At this late night, I don't want to be using colorful language, but I think I've made myself quite clear.
Very clear at that. Earlier on Consider This, my colleagues spoke to James Chin. He presented a very interesting kind of analysis where any deals done will be revealed through cabinet appointments. And he also argues that there would be a lot of expectations from Bersatu moving back to UMNO. Of course, he's coming in from the political aspect of things. Do you share that sentiment that the political wrangling is still going to happen, except now it's going to be, locked within the governmental sphere? Basically, everyone at Pakatan Harapan has sorted yourself out. Your man did not get the office. Now you will go back to resuming your regular duties. It's on them now, and they have to sort this mess by themselves. Is that the kind of sentiment right now?
I think the answer I want to give is twofold. Number one, we have never stopped or withdrawn ourselves from our daily duties, despite the political wranglings. And of course, in this environment of political high-heatedness, we've had to throw ourselves in the ring and be part of the fight. But we've not stopped the work that we are elected to do on the ground with our constituencies. I think that's one part of it. The other part of it, I think, quite frankly, I'm a bit angered and disappointed that the political wrangling didn't really venture into matters of policy. If you were to look, or if one was to look at any other mature democracy or even semi-mature democracies, when you're wrangling for positions, it's about getting those positions to deliver policies and to deliver things that you believe in, or your party believes in, or your political struggle represents. We've not heard any of that from, the stock that is previously Pakatan Nasional. I don't know whether this will exist. It was all about, am I going to get the deputy prime ministership? Am I going to be getting this ministership? Am I going to be, how many portfolios is my party going to get? And you're even seeing this absolutely ugly fight within Bersatu of whether it's going to be Azmin, whether it's going to be Hamzah, whether or not the deputy president of the party is going to be getting the deputy prime minister. This is absolutely atrocious. It's unacceptable. And I think it makes an absolute mockery of our democracy. Yes, political wrangling is something that happens. We know it happens. If you're going to do it in such an ugly, uncouth manner, do it behind closed door. At least put some kind of a shroud of dignity by covering up. I know they don't mean it. They won't think about it, but cover it up with some policy demands. That's what we've done. And we did it with pure ketelusan dan ketulusan, with pure sincerity. And that's essentially what we want. We want policies. We want Parliament to. We want the Parliament to play more of a center stage in governance. We want policies to be implemented. We put that on the table. We told it to the government, or the then government and the now government. We told it in Parliament, and we told it to the electorate. Why can't they do that? Why can't we move democracy towards where it should be, rather than stay in this mudslinging match that is just trying to squalor for positions and power? So I guess, it should be about policies. It should be about the people. It should be about dealing with this war that we're in. It should be about solving the matters of the people and the country, not about whether or not they're going to stay in the second spot or the top spot, or taking the top spot. So I'm sorry for being a bit emotional about this.
No. Please, everyone's emotional. The guest before us this evening was also emotional. And she, for all that is, for intent purposes, from the other side as well. And people need to be emotional about all this, because this is a rather emotional time. And many folks have voted UMNO out, and UMNO is now the Prime Minister. This is a rather strange time to be in. But you're right, you started off this conversation by saying that all the instruments and the institutions of democracy has been tested. And yes, 114 came up, and therefore he has the majority as per outlined by the Constitution. So it's a very strange feeling, Howard. I understand what you're going through. I'm one of them, right? And strangely enough, this is a feeling that I think we all have to acknowledge, that the democratic process did take its course, or did run its course. But one needs to be reminded that this is not the end all and be all. Right now, UMNO has nowhere else to hide, I suppose. One key analyst on Consider This, and also on my show Notepad, argues that they can never play second fiddle. They are, driving the seat right now. They're in the driving seat, pardon me. And you feel that a lot of pressure will now be on UMNO to deliver, in order for them to continue to be seen as the party that is worthy to rule the nation?
Well, I think I'd just like to draw our attention to, I think it's difficult to look back, but let's draw our attention to what the palace also decreed, which is to ask for a government that is stable. Is 3 seats more than the majority that is required, or the post, stable? Is this government going to be stable? Is this fight within Bersatu itself, which is wrangling for the deputy prime ministership, does that give you confidence of stability, or at least projected stability? All these spells a big, huge no, right? So, and I think let's also look at UMNO's strategic objective. Their strategic objective is no secret, and I think satu Malaysia pun tahu, UMNO's strategic objective is to annihilate, or if not, eliminate Bersatu from the Malaysian political landscape. Let's not kid ourselves. That's what they want to achieve. And that's what, this fundamental move behind, the intent behind this fundamental move is to do that, is to remove Bersatu from the top seat and to render them, render them less than what they were. And they've succeeded. Well done. But how's that helping the country? It's not. So what are you going to do to help and solve the country's problems? Well, that remains to be seen. But I think what has to be put clear here is, yes, UMNO, well done. You've achieved your strategic objective, or at least partially achieved it. Now do something for the people. Now let's do something for the country. Now let's just steer the country back on track. Let's solve the pandemic. Let's stop the deaths. Let's stop the infection. Let's get businesses back on track. Let's get jobs back in the hearts and the households of our country. And let's get people making income again. Let's get Malaysia back in some kind of semblance of, I don't even want to go as far as normalcy, some semblance of civilization, because what we're seeing now is not what I see as civilization. It's a clamor and a struggle for survival, and that's not what that's not what civilization in 2021 should look like or feel like. Other countries can do it. Why can't we? I hate using this term. Other countries can do it. Why can't we? We should be doing better, but we're not. Now, it's incumbent upon the Prime Minister and his new government to achieve nothing less than that. If you can achieve more, great, we'll support you. But, well, that's remained to be seen.
Fantastic. Thank you, Howard. Late into the day to have these kind of conversations, but Howard, always a pleasure to have you on. Howard Lee of the DAP Socialist Youth joins us from his residence. When we come back, we'll go for a short break. When we come back, we'll have a crossover with my colleague Firdaus Azil at the Royal Chulan Hotel to follow the ongoings there. The incoming Prime Minister has just concluded his meeting over there. We'll be going for a short break. When we come back, we'll have some updates on the ongoings of Ismail Sabri.
Banyak yang boleh anda pelajari di Astro AWANI link, and the best thing, it's all free. Pertama, kita ada webinar where we focus on the bigger picture, featuring the experts of experts helping your future planning and decision making. Kemudian kita ada workshop.
Amanah di tangan kita. Adat, budaya dan semangat menjadi kesinambungan perpaduan tanah air yang tercinta. Berteraskan adab yang terpahat di jiwa dan raga. Marilah bersama kita membina negara Malaysia.
Untuk memastikan Malaysia
ada
ke depan
dan maju. Induknya adalah Melayu.
Balik kepada seperti orang yang membuat polisi.
Kalau itu yang dikehendaki, fine. Mungkin kita berbeza pandangan.
Tapi kita mempunyai kuasa yang boleh menentukan budaya di masa hadapan.
Polisi yang mesra wanita, sudah tentu dia akan datang daripada pemimpin wanita.
Bila sentuh soal berita, tiada masa untuk tunggu. Kepada anda kami bawakan fakta, susulan dan kupasan yang terkini. Tiada drama, dan tiada pengulangan. Usah tunggu lama-lama. AWANI 745 lebih awal dari biasa. Amanah di tangan kita. Adat, budaya dan semangat menjadi kesinambungan perpaduan tanah air yang tercinta. Berteraskan adab yang terpahat di jiwa dan raga. Marilah bersama kita membina negara Malaysia.
Untuk memastikan Malaysia ke depan dan maju. Induknya adalah Melayu.
Balik kepada Islam. Orang yang membuat polisi.
Kalau itu yang dikehendaki, fine. Mungkin kita berbeza pandangan.
Tapi kita mempunyai kuasa yang boleh menentukan budaya di masa hadapan.
Polisi yang